And welcome to my retail banking app. This is my third attempt. I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible. It's an app basically written in Adobe Air for tablets mostly because of the size. We've got the opening screen here. We've got some language options. We've got an authentication, which I'm going to pretend is going to be a fingerprint scanner by tapping on the various middle section here. There's my little on-loading hand. So if I tap on that, we go back to the main screen. And the main screen itself has got our main banking options. So, for example, making payments, finding a local branch, looking at your calendar for scheduled payments, or things like birthdays where you're having a banking transaction, or talking to the bank itself with chat and reading your messages. The second section underneath there is for showing other services to the bank in the app and aspects which might pop up every now and again. So in this case, your credit card might be due in a couple of days, so options to pay off the whole bill, pay the minimum, or pay another amount. Or if you've still got some space left in your ISA this year, and the app has decided that you've got some spare cash, it might provide this option here to pay into the ISA. On the bottom of the screen, we've got our notification area. There's about 5 different notifications. Each notification comes with a description of the notification and a contextual action, which I think is very important and not really handy at the moment in most apps. So for example, let's look at some of them very quickly. You've got 5 recent transactions which don't have tags. We'll look at tags in a minute. 2 unread messages. Go and have a look at the read messages. 2 days to pay off your MasterCard or your Visa card. And let's say your account has updated and there might be a new video that the bank's come up with to describe what the new features are. Account details up here, and a faceted search. So I haven't got obviously a search running at the moment. It's a presentation account, but the faceted search would group all of the various transactions into sort of different categories and provide contextual actions as to things you can do with those particular search results. At the top here, we've got our logo, which does something interesting in a minute. And we've got banking services, cookie dreams, which I'm sure you're dying to find out about, current account, and tagging. So let's look at current account, which is a fairly sort of standard screen on most accounts. We've got all of our transactions, the date, the type of the transaction, paid in, balance, and on the right-hand side here, we've got the tags. So every single transaction here has got an associated tag associated with it. I said associated twice there, sorry about that. The research I did for this with friends and families, and one of the things which they identify which they're not very happy about online banking is quite often they want to look a little bit further down on a particular statement to find out what happened just before that date. So it's just a simple option, find those particular transactions, fit them into the screen, and let users scroll them around. So this is an eased scroll and drag, which is quite pleasant to look at rather than a sort of like an abrupt one. And of course, then the other thing I wanted to do is to very, very quickly look at the previous month and the next month if they're in the previous month already. So some sort of like a swipey motion to get to the next page to look at the next month's statement. Another way of looking at the account is looking at it with specific attention to the tags itself. So this is the tag view of our monthly statement. And all of the transactions have been grouped by date and tag. So I can look at my monthly spend as far as the tags are concerned. You can see at the bottom here, there's 3 different transactions which haven't been tagged, which is one of my notifications down here. So what that we'd actually have a very, very simple next screen by clicking on the add tag button, which would let me choose from existing tags or create a new tag, just to make sure that everything is visible and accountable as far as my management of my funds is concerned. And the rest of the screen, it says, okay, shopping, we've got 5 different Tesco visits here. We've got different amounts each time, a total spend for this particular month on shopping. And I've got a budget associated with my tags. So I'm saying in a month, I want to spend about £400. I'm in the green at the moment because I'm £6.66 under budget, which is very, very nice. Let's look a little bit more on the tags itself. If I click on one of these tags, let's say shopping, it takes me to my log analysis for that particular tag. So this is the detail about the tag itself. And you can see you've got the name of the tag there We'd have a title, we'd have a description, we'd have a budget, which would be weekly, monthly, or annual. So we can update the tag details immediately here. We've got a little screen, which would be a visual sort of impression about how we're doing. In this case, it's the annual look at the particular tag spend. And green means good, red means bad. Blue, the black line here is actually the budget. So anything sort of under the budget means we're under budget, we're in good. But anything sort of quite well below it, we've got this little blue space here. And that's how much we're saving on that particular month versus our budget and our spend for that particular tag. And of course, quite a lot of transactions actually happen in cash still. So we'd have an option to create a virtual cash payment on a tag just to make sure that we're accounting for all of our various spends. This would never actually appear as part of the current account, but it's very, very useful as far as management of our money is concerned. Let's look at the next screen here. I'm just going to swipe left. And this is a special chart which I developed for looking more in detail at the budgeting of tags itself. So this is the shopping tag budgets chart. So we've got the various months going on here. We've got our spends. So I spent 228 in January, 220 in February, 239 in March. So you can see, for example, that the little red dotted line is the average spend. The black line is actually my budget. So I can see when I'm actually over budget, under budget. And if I click on one of these arrow buttons, we have quite a little bit of fun because what we're doing is we're dynamically changing our budget. So as I move the budget up, you can see that suddenly everything looks as though it's under budget, and I can move it down again. But just very, very simply, what I can do is I can change the budget to reflect my spend, and either just look and see how much I'm saving on a particular budget, or I could tailor my budget to say that I want to be able to spend to save, let's say, £10 on average every single month, which then I can apply to saving for special things that I want, like Christmas or a new car. And just have a look at some of the other ones here. So we've got bills, dreams. Let's go back to bills again, and again we can move our little budget up and down. And we'd have different options. So, for example, setting budgets, making a cash payment for the tag, editing the details, and seeing the log of the transactions. Okay, that's tagging. If we now look at my current account again, so we had a look at these two, we had a look at the tagging, and let's look at the last one I've come up with. This is a graphical representation of our monthly statement, which is interesting because it shows me my cyclic spending habits. We start off the month, we've just been paid, we're actually quite happy. It's a bit like a tree almost. In the spring, all of our leaves suddenly appear on the tree. We're happy, we're smiley. We go through the year, we sort of head into autumn. The leaves start dropping off rather drastically. In the bleakest of winter, there's nothing left at all before we start the cycle all over again. And on the right hand side, we've just got, this is the overall sort of perspective of the month. This is how much went out, this is how much went in. So we're doing pretty good. All over and all, and we could actually quite easily find out specific details on a payment. Let's say we want to look at that one there or that one there, and we could find out what's happening in detail. But as far as this cycle is concerned, we all have that particular cycle, but it doesn't really help towards saving for things. Sure, we could have a savings account, which is a lot of effort because we're going to move money between accounts back and forth, and it takes time, it takes effort, and even then it's not very, very clear. So what I wanted to create was something tactile, something which we could sort of like manipulate, maneuver, watch, and be encouraged by, which is like a cookie jar almost, which is going to be heading towards the things which we're dreaming towards, which is, if you remember from earlier, our cookie dreams over here. Clicking on that. This is a quick presentation, which I'm just going to let run for a few seconds. And it gives you the idea quite well. This is our current account, which is that tree as it goes through the annual cycle. What happens that if we split off two different sort of sections virtually from that balance? We've got our adjusted balance here, and we've got these two sections which we're going to put in greenhouses. So as we go through the year and we run out of money, if we have just a little bit of money left in our sort of like standard balance, In our adjusted balance, we've got virtually nothing left there at all. However, our two trees are quite thriving still. It's the same amount of money. If I just quickly click on the current balance up here, this kind of describes it. This is basically saying that our balance, as shown up here, is 2,734, but I've actually saved 1,860 in my Dream account, which means I've got available funds of 4,594, which I can use immediately. I don't actually have to leave it in these virtual savings cookie jars. I can use it as and when I need to. Let's just run this the next thing. So if I was particularly running money, or I wanted to have a particular large spend, if I could just move that back into the adjusted balance from the Dream immediately without any sort of like waiting for accounts to transfer or anything like that. And this is the final screen of the presentation. And this basically shows me that over the month I'm putting money into my cookie jar, which is leading towards a velocity line, which is the red dotted one there. And that of course gives me an expected end date. This shows me with my current rate of spending, I'm expected to actually finish saving for my particular Dream on a particular date. Another way of looking at that is my tree is growing throughout the year as I'm putting money in, and when it gets to my target of being this high over here, I've reached my Dream. And that's essentially what a Dream account is. Of course, from earlier, we saw that in our budgeting on tags that we could actually set up a budget, which meant we'd probably have an expected amount of saved every single month. And there's no reason why we can't automatically connect that saving to a particular Dream. So every single month, for example, on shopping, I'm expecting to come in around about £20 under budget. I could then use that £20 automatically in the tagging section to put it into a Dream account. And there's just the description of the Dreams and what they do and the benefits. So let's have a look at a Dream. So this is a version of a particular cookie jar, which is for a new car. It's a second-hand Mini. It's going to cost £2,500. I've got something I can look forward to now. I'm actually looking at what I'm expected to get. It's not going to change on a sort of day-by-day, month-by-month basis, because it's separated virtually from my current account. I can set up scheduled payments, so every single month when I get paid, I can put £25 in. Or I've got some ad hoc payments. So let's say I want to put in 120 because I've got that amount spare into my car pocket, or my car cookie jar. Clicking the confirm will actually move it. So if you look at the current balance up here and how much I've got already saved here, click on confirm. This is going to go up, that's going to go down. It's just a little micro interaction. Doesn't add that much value to the app itself, but micro interactions, they add value to the experience. They sort of say, okay, this is something that's happening, it's dynamic, happening now, it's something which makes life a little bit smoother as far as our entire experience is concerned. Let's try that again. So in it goes. And let's say, as an example, that on my next cookie jar, which is for Christmas, I've estimated I want £1,500. I've got an expected end date of 21st November using my current velocity. But let's say I've got a large spend which I suddenly need most of this money for. I can put it back in at the end of the month. £600 is needed, and what I'm going to do is click on the From Dream account, click confirm. Because my balance is actually going up now. My cookie balance is going down. If I click on this again, we can see that the available funds hasn't changed because it is virtual. So I've still got that 4,594 in my account, which I can use whenever I want to. But the balance showing is 3,000, and I've saved 1,500 on my cookies. Okay, let's have a quick look at what else there is. So on the idea of making payments, if I click on make a Visa payment for full amount, what it's done, it's gone to my payment screen. It's automatically loaded up the account, it's loaded up the account details. I would just have to make a payment and click on yes. Equally, if I go into the payment screen from the main screen, I start off with a new payee, or I can use my categories of friends and family, other, and organizations to automatically find my contacts, fill in details, fill in the amounts. We've got some validation going on the various fields there. We can change the categories. We can decide to save an account for later with a particular nickname. Most of it's fairly standard stuff when it comes to that. If we then go back to finding a branch. So this is a Google Map concept. So I can enter a postcode looking for a particular branch, or I can find the closest branch to my current location on the map, or I've got the branches shown on the map itself. The other way of looking for a branch is when you're looking for particular services in a bank itself. So you choose the services, you click on the search button, and it finds those services in the local bank. Information available here is, for example, we've got the address, we've got the manager, the services available at the branch, currently open. It's Wednesdays, so I know the opening hours are, and I've got some contact details if I need to phone, email, or fax them. Or I could just click on the icon from the map, and again, it's going to bring in the different branches like that. So that's making payments, finding a branch, calendar, and that's not really important. And what I'm going to look at next is actually technical. So if you're not techie at all, then you can actually go away and make a cup of coffee. And it's to do with the app itself. The app is, as I said, it's an Adobe Air app. It's based on one of my templates, which means it's very, very fast to develop. It's got multiple sort of sections, multiple pages in each section. And it's really made for a presentation in things like workshops or when you're doing a pitch. And what I would do is I would give everyone, all of the major stakeholders, a tablet or a mobile to have a look at the app running. But then I would activate what I would call presentation mode. So I've looked at the logo here. This is got a description of the application, technical features, highlights, and this thing called peer-to-peer networking, which means that I can actually now take control of the presentation. Now, every single tablet running in my presentation has now gone to a screen saying you're entering student mode. And I can tell looking up here, the little number 4 there says that there are currently 4 different devices running in this presentation. And I can tell you because they're all on my desk. I've got 2 tablets, I've got 1 mobile phone, and the development environment is also running a version. So if I look on Codebase, what this does is it looks on the network that I've just created, and it says, okay, I'm currently on the master device, but I've got 4 connections currently in place. I've got my development environment, I've got my 3 different Android devices, which is going to be, I think there's 2 tablets and a mobile phone. That's the mobile phone there. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to very, very quickly go into my Samsung S7, and I'm going to run the app. So I've just started the app running on my Samsung, and you can see another one has just arrived. That's the Samsung S7, which is this one here. So I know because the screen's huge, so 2560 1440, and this is all the people running the application on the device in front of them. And because I'm in teacher mode, what that means is whenever I go to a different page, they will go to the same page. There's 2 different modes of doing this. Either they can, they've got free movement apart from when I actually make a movement to a page, or I can actually set them automatically to only look at the page I'm looking at. So at the moment, they can only look at the page I'm looking at. They can't sort of like swipe left, swipe right. But what I can do is I can release them, and that means that they've got independent navigation of the app themselves. I'm just going to recatch them there. Go back to Codebase. Other things I can do is I've got a blank screen here which I can use for drawing. So this is real-time drawing, which is happening on all the different devices as I'm drawing it. The picture of the very bad picture of the elephant is appearing as well. Equally, I could change the technology so they could draw something back if they wanted to. But why would you want to draw elephants, Michael? Well, obviously you wouldn't really want to draw elephants. But what it is quite handy for is if I want to highlight something on the particular screen I'm looking at in different colors, I could sort of highlight something, I could point towards something. Just click it off again. So it's quite a handy. It's not just a gimmick, it is quite handy as far as demonstrations are concerned. That's all I'm going to do today because it's already taking far too long. So I hope you've actually enjoyed the presentation. and I'll see you soon.